Hello everyone and welcome. This is going to be video number 5 of the 3ds Max tutorial series. Today I'm going to be going over a couple of different tools, as well as some tips, some things that I like to edit as far as the 3ds Max, not the interface, but some settings I like to tweak that would be pretty useful for some of you. So I'm going to start out with that. I'm going to start out with the settings you might want to tweak that can be useful when you're modeling, and then I'll proceed into using some of the tools in polygon and edge selections. So to start, really the only main thing that I would suggest editing is, if I can find it here, I believe it's in customize. I'm not sure though. I found it before I started the video. Now I forgot where it's at. Preferences, that's what it is. So you're going to go to customize. So let me get rid of this. You're going to go to customize, preferences, and then in this first tab here, general, I would suggest changing your undo levels. Reason for this is it can save you a lot of times if you're modeling something and you've, say, messed up something along the way and you've got to undo, but it's past 20 levels of undo. And basically the undo levels are literally every edit you make is a new level in your undo or redo tab. The max that 3ds Max will allow you to up it is to 500. I would suggest putting it as that. So once you do that, just press enter, and then you can just press OK. And if you want to check it just to be sure, customize, preferences, there you go, levels are 500. But this has saved me a lot in the past, or even if it's something kind of small, like I've started making something, or I've made an edit to something, and then along the way in the modeling it, I didn't like how it was turning out, so I just pressed undo until I got to where I was to begin with. There have been a few times that this has reset itself. Not quite sure, but it will happen every now and then. It's always good, every now and then just to go to your tab and check it. There are some other things that you can change as far as the look of 3ds as well, but I'm not really going to bother with that. One other thing that I will show you is, let me grab a box right quick, or really anything, doesn't matter what it is, and then add a edit poly modifier. So when you're working and say you've got your move here, you've got your move modifier, whatever it might be, or your rotate, whatever it is. I'm just going to use move for now. And say for example you're trying to rotate around or something, and you accidentally press Shift Control X. You're kind of in a hurry, you're moving your hands around. Shift Control X. Shift Control X gets rid of your gizmo, and a lot of times, until I finally figured it out, I wasn't quite sure what I did. I couldn't figure it out. You can close 3ds Max, open it back up, and it's still going to be this way, and you can't find your gizmo to move. So it's literally just, because this right here doesn't do anything. This just gives you your standard axes. The actual tool itself allows you to move and constrain everything. But you accidentally mashed some buttons together. Shift Control X is how you bring that back. Shift Control X is how you get rid of it. And as well as in your preferences here, in gizmos, if you ever get rid of it and you forget what the key was, you can go into customize, preferences, go to gizmos. So you'll come in, it'll look like this. You'll go to gizmos, and then just tick this on, and then press OK, and it'll bring it back for you. When I first started modeling, I did this a handful of times and couldn't figure out what I did, and then you have to go on Google and you have to look it up. I got rid of my move tool or move gizmo, and you have to figure out what it's called, and then it takes forever to fucking figure out. So that's just a quick little pointer, because it will happen to some of you. You know, if you're trying to be quick, you're mashing buttons, or you're in the you're in the zone, you're moving around, you're trying to do whatever, and then boom, oh, I got rid of my move gizmo, or my rotate gizmo, or my scale gizmo. You know, it's the same thing. It works across all of them. If you get rid of it, you can't use it anymore. So Shift Control X brings it back and gets rid of it. So I did want to point that out because that has happened to me a lot. Now, next, I'm going to get into the modeling tips I was going to go over. So I'm going to make if I can speak, I'm going to make a new box here. Just going to make it yay big, just a perfect box. And I'm going to go over a handful of tools here. So I'm going to start in an orthographic viewport. And I'm going to use Alt-W, of course, that I've discussed in past videos to make it bigger. F3 so you can see it. I just like working out of one viewport. It's just my preference. So I'm going to add a Edit Poly modifier to this. And then I'm going to first start out in my edge selection. So for edge selection, what I wanted to show is mainly one tool. So I'm going to take this, just kind of move it over here. Now when you do this, let me actually go back because I haven't discussed this yet. So what I just did here is I held down Shift and then I grabbed it on the X axis and moved it, and this will create a clone or a copy. In 3ds it's called a clone, but you can call it a copy, you can call it whatever the hell you want to call it. When you let go of those two, it then pulls up this clone options box. This gives you a couple of different options. It gives you copy, instance, or reference. You always, always, always want to use copy. From here you can also change the name of it if you want to set the names. I normally don't. I leave it. I just work with a billion different boxes when I import into Zmod and figure it out later. It's just doing shit the hard way, but you know, it is what it is. I don't take the extra time to do all of that because I'd rather just model what I need to model and then figure all that extra stuff out later. So the reason I'm making two boxes here is I'm going to show how to use the bridge tool. Now, mind you, you can use this tool when doing a lot of other different things, more complex shapes, you know, objects, whatever it might be. But for this, I'm just going to use two boxes because this tool works, you know, flawlessly among whatever else you've got. So in order to use it, you have to have an open area here in your object, and that may not be the proper term for it, but that's what I call it. Basically your object cannot be completely closed in, or the bridge tool will not work, period. What it does is it doesn't weld objects together, but it adds in polygons in this area, any sort of open area you have. So it's going to make a new face between here and here, here and here, here and here, and the bottom right here. And to show you what exactly I mean by that, firstly you need to attach whatever objects you're trying to bridge together have to be attached. You attach it together, go to your edge, and then you're going to want to click and drag over all the edges here that you want to bridge. Now of course it's going to grab these right here. You just Alt, mouse drag, Alt, mouse drag. Okay, so now you just have your inner faces here, or your inner edges here. You can either do a couple things. You can just press the bridge tool, which of course in this case it didn't work out the way it should have. A lot of times that doesn't work. Or you can use this here. Now you come with a lot of different options here in this little menu. A lot of this stuff, it gives you your smoothing options, gives you your segment options, your bridge adjacent options, your reverse triangles, and your use edge selection. Now of course, again, this didn't work. In some cases it won't. I'm not quite sure. I've had it work sometimes, other times it won't work when you press bridge. The best way that has worked for me is to do it individually, edge by edge. So you'll just go to bridge, you'll click the little bridge button here, you'll grab this, it'll give you this little crosshair looking thing, you'll click that one, and you'll click your next in there. You'll click this one, and you click that one there. You'll click this one, that one, this one, that one, and there you go. And it kind of pieces it together. Now this can be, it doesn't even have to be a perfect box or a square. It can literally be like your boxes and stuff can be this far apart. It doesn't matter, it works the same. And they can even be like upwards, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter where it's at. As long as your faces are there, it'll piece it together. And of course, like I was saying, when you have multiple of them selected, sometimes it doesn't work. I may be using the tool wrong, or I may have too many selected. I'm not quite sure. I don't ever use the tool though. I just do it manually, regardless of how many edges I have to work with, or anything like that. So that's just me. I do it one by one. I do shit the hard way. It's the easiest way to put it. But what it can do though is, rather than doing that, it will work when you do it this way. Pieces it just like that. Again, it's kind of you know, it's easier just to click it, click it, you know, so on and so forth. Do exactly what I did. Now next, I'm going to get rid of this box here. That kind of covers what I wanted to go over in the edge selection tab, I believe. Yeah, that was that was about it. So I'm going to cap off the edge here. So I'm just going to go to border selection. I'm going to grab that open edge, cap. It's going to cap it off, and then I'm going to set it to its own smoothing group, just because it doesn't have to be, you know, they're all separate, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm just going to do it anyway. Now next, what I wanted to go over is your polygon. In your polygon selection, you have your bevel tool. You have your bevel tool and your inset tool that I wanted to go over. So to start, I'm going to start with the bevel tool. Now, same thing with the bridge tool. You have the little button here you can select. And what this does is, it's kind of like chamfer, where you click the button and you can just kind of click it and drag it and do whatever. And each time you let go, so let me go back actually. I'm going to right click to stop that. So you click and you drag one time and it pulls it up. The way the bevel tool works is, it kind of works as an extrude tool and an inset tool all at once, but it allows you to kind of add some height to whatever you want. So you can drag this up however high, and then from here it'll allow you to move it in or move it out according to what you want to do. And of course you can't move it in this too far, because then you have this result, and that's not right. But you can move it in, you can move it out, you know, whatever works for you. Personally, I never use this. I will always just extrude up and or go into edge select and then just grab the edges. I'll use the move, I'll hold down shift, pull it up, and then I'll take it in vertex mode and just scale it inwards. But it works the same way. It's a little bit quicker, but all in all you get the same result regardless of how you do it. So that's one way you can use it. Now if I go back, using it again, you go to your settings tab here, which I would of course recommend for just about any tool that you use in 3ds again. From here, now you can kind of fine tune these to whatever you wish. So let's just say you're trying to get something to look a certain way, and you know, okay, well that's a little too high, let me adjust the height, you know, or I gotta adjust it up, or I gotta adjust it down. You know, you're trying to get a certain kind of look, but you need to adjust it on the fly. And of course you want to use your settings tool here and kind of adjust it as you go. So that's kind of the basic use of that. And then of course, you know, if you want it to be smooth, you can just click and drag over all of this, grab it, get rid of all these damn smoothing groups here, and boom, you know, you smooth it. Of course it doesn't look that great. It's a very low poly model. That's just kind of the basic use of it. And you can do this again to kind of sharpen up the top as well. Do bevel one more time. It's going to give you your same settings that you had in the last one. You can maybe pull it down some and pull it in a little, just a little bit, and then go back, grab everything, and boom, you know. kind of tightens up that edge a little bit. It does in some cases kind of work like the chamfer tool, but it's kind of hard to work with it trying to do something like that. So I would always, of course, recommend using the chamfer tool if you need to do rounded edges like this. In some very few cases will you want to use the bevel tool to do something like that, but each tool has its different uses and different times, so you work with it however you feel is best. But I'm going to undo all of this, and the undo tab as well that I was talking about earlier. You can use this little drop down option right here, and you can undo whatever, and it gives you everything you've done. So it shows where you've beveled, it shows where you've I don't know what grip visible means. Oh, just grab the thing up top. Set smoothing groups, clear smoothing groups, beveled again, deleted polygons, etc. It gives you everything you've done one by one. I'm going to go back down here to my start. So there you go, you're back to where you were. Now next I want to go over the Inset Tool, and the Inset Tool is very simple. All it does is this. Let me press F4 to pull on the thing here. All it does is basically inset your edge here excuse me, to whatever size you want. You cannot pull it out though. That's the only thing, you cannot pull it out. So you come in, it stops at 0. It will not allow you to pull it out like the extrude tool does, I believe. You have to go inwards, of course. Inset, it's in the name, allows you to inset on the object. And this I use a lot when I have, say, an object that's flat like this that I need to chamfer the edges, because the reason for this is you can't chamfer edges like this when, now this being a box it might work, but you normally cannot get a good result out of chamfering edges that are flat like this up top when the object is not doesn't have a face or whatever. So yeah, see, it doesn't give you anything here, so it's not even going to chamfer the edge. Now you can go to quad right here, and it's going to give this kind of janky looking result, but it's not going to come out the way it needs to be. It's going to be really weird. So when you need to do something like that on the top that doesn't have any sort of connecting faces up top, you go to your polygon tab, you inset, and I would normally inset a good amount just to be safe. It doesn't matter what it is, and you can clean this up later. You can even delete it and then set it back to the to it just being 4 or 1 poly instead of being 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 right here. The way you do that is I'll show you here. So you go back in here to edge, and you say, okay, I want to chamfer this edge right here. Alright, so I had a little bit of difficulty with the last box. I'm not quite sure why, but it would not work when I was trying to chamfer the edge. So I made a new box here to show what's going on, and this one of course works the way I needed it to. But basically what you would do is you would inset your edge, and I just kind of raise this up just a little bit just because it doesn't matter if you raise it up or if you leave it level. You can leave it where it is. When you inset it, it doesn't really matter. But I would normally raise it up just a tad, just to kind of help with the edge it's going to create here. But you'll go to your edge selection. After you do that, grab your edge, so you'll just click, and you'll use the loop tool to loop around, and go to chamfer. Chamfer your edge, add your segment, whatever, and then work however you need it to go. Up your smoothers, whatever, and you can kind of do it like that. But it doesn't work because it doesn't have any sort of constraints to use to keep its form. I guess is the right word to use, keep its form. It doesn't have any sort of axis constraints on it. I don't know what the proper terminology is. I'm not a professional modeler, and I do this shit for fun, but anyways. But yeah, you have to inset your top face here. As long as you have running lines down here, running edges here, you're fine, but your top has to have something, even if it's not the top, if it's the bottom, same concept. It has to have some sort of way for these lines to flow, because it can't just add it can't just add extra edges onto something that doesn't have anywhere for it to constrain to. I don't really know how else to better explain that. But of course, from here you can adjust it however much, all the way up until your top piece there. Then of course it stops there. Now your bottom will continue to move, as you can see it going down, but your top will not. Of course, like I said, you're going to want to bring that in a lot just to be safe. So if you do have a wider chamfer here, say you've got 3 edges here, then you're going to want to have a little bit of room up here. You don't want to inset and then inset just a little bit and then expect for your chamfer to be able to be really big, because it won't work. It'll cap out wherever you ended that. So you've got a chamfer like this, and you go down, smooth your edges. You already got them smooth. I'm going to delete this bottom one here just for the hell of it. So you've got your little rounded off top here. Now you can even go into more detail and say grab your outside edges here if we'd wanted to. And this is kind of getting into a how to chamfer video, but that wasn't the point. The point is to display the inset thing, but it kind of shows what the inset tool will do and how you can use it as far as chamfering, which is normally the only thing I'll use it for. And then of course, when you want to do the edges as well, so you need to do them the same width as the other one here, then it will go all the way in until this, and it will actually as well grab your insides here, and it will kind of shape it and follow the edges, if that makes sense. And then from here, you can grab this and either delete it, which at this point you don't really want to delete it. You're going to want to use the cut tool, which I think I went over in one video, but if not, I'll go over it again. You're going to want to use your cut tool, and you can either cut back and forth, as long as it's all in quads, of course. Cut here, so on and so forth, just like so. And of course, the cut tool you use in vertex mode, and you can cut back and forth on an object. And this all being in quads, it should work out pretty good. So I'll go here, make sure all my smoothing groups are applied, and then kind of look around, and everything looks pretty good. It's nice and smooth, no issues, no normals issues, stuff like that. Very basic shape, it just kind of displays chamfer, the cut tool, inset tool, kind of all in one. I didn't really mean to get into chamfering again, but that's the best explanation and use I have when using the inset tool. Mainly the only reason I ever use it. I will use it sometimes, say if I'm trying to make an object and I got to just inset the edge. It's going to be like a harder surface. So for example, let me get rid of all this stuff I've just done here. So we'll go down to that. Okay, that gets rid of all of that. And then we'll go, say, to here. We'll just get rid of everything we've done to this box. There we go. So from here, let's get out of that. Okay. Here's what we'll do instead. Delete poly. Cool. So we'll add a new poly modifier here. So in times that I will use the inset tool, rather than just for chamfering, is if I need to, say, bring an object in a little bit, and then need to extrude upwards. Then I'll use that to give me whatever edge I need, and I'll use it to extrude up. Now, of course, you can use, say, the Bevel Tool to do this, kind of, sort of, although it might not work exactly how you want it to. But that's the other use I really ever use the inset tool for, is if I got to do something like this. So say I would inset up, and then, let's just say I needed to bring it outward. So a couple things you can do. You can either use the Swift Loop tool to add an edge here, and then grab your vertices. Get out of that. Grab your vertices here, and scale outward some. Pull it back out, whatever. It's according to what type of shape you're trying to make. whatever it may be, you know. Or you can use your bevel tool so you can bring it up to wherever you need. Polygon mode here. Grab your bevel tool, raise it up however far, then pull that out. You can adjust the height, you know, whatever you might want to do. You pull it out. That's one way, is of course to use the bevel tool as well. But really simple, straightforward, to the point. You know, of course, I might be doing things the hard way. I might be doing things the easy way. That's what it is. I have my own ways of modeling that I've grown accustomed to. So, but that's just kind of basic uses of those tools, and you know, use them for whatever. If you want to model certain ways or whatever it may be. But this just kind of course, displays your very basic uses of them, and you can use this across whatever. You can have really complex shapes. You can have really basic shapes. You know, just like this box. But I think that about covers it. I didn't want to make this video too long. Of course, I tend to over-explain everything, so I talk way too much and have 30-minute long videos like this one is now. But, you know, that's just me. But I think that covers all I wanted to go over today. Of course, as always, thank you for watching.